Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our very important topic that we'd like to share with you today, which is the most in-demand skills that employers are looking for job seekers in 2021. Joining me today are two fantastic women who are representative of a global panel, which is really what's required here in the global workplace that we're working in. So first, Roberto Pagliarulo, who is in Italy, and then we have Silvia King, who is in Dubai, and myself, Catharine Fennell, who I'm in Toronto, Canada, and it's a snowy day. We'd like to start with talking about what are the shifts that employers are seeing in terms of the trends since COVID. Number one, and I'm sure many of you are very aware of this, the topic of diversity and bias in the hiring environment. So it's extremely important that employers now consider standardization and structuring of their interview process and avoiding prematurely screening out great candidates at that first stage through things like resume bias. Second, we all know that we're living in a very virtual hiring environment. So now we have remote workers, we have people working from everywhere, and we truly have globalization. So that has real implications for how you participate in the interview process and how you work with others on the team that may come from different parts of the world. And lastly, we're seeing a real shift from resumes and hard skill to more human skill assessment. So with that, I'd like to ask you, Silvia, can you just describe in your terms what are human skills?
The human skills are a really interesting set of capabilities, and I think what makes them so special is that they are quite universal and timeless. And that is particularly crucial in the current environment because looking at the key skills for the future, what a survey by the World Economic Forum has shown is that 50% of all employees will need reskilling by 2025. And 40% of current workers' core skills are expected to change in the next 5 years. So what employers are looking for are skills that are enabling this continuous learning, and that means skills, human skills that are inherent in how we act, how we think, and how we speak. Cultural sensitivity also means in this context having the ability to adapt to different work cultures, either in different parts of the world or in different organizations that we may join.
So that definitely has implications for the interview process, both for employers as well as for job seekers and students who are embarking on looking for jobs and going through career changes. So when we look a little bit deeper at the research, we can see that the top 10 skills that are highlighted here are things that are human skills. So things like problem solving, the ability to self-manage, so time management and being accountable, the ability to work with people, and the ability to use technology. And we can see the evidence of that today as we're talking through screens. So, Roberta, what are your thoughts on this in terms of your experience with the clients that you work with?
Thank you, Catherine. As a coach, I usually work with companies to develop their employees' skills. And in the current situation, for example, a huge focus is on a new style of leadership. First of all, companies require self-leadership, people that can be autonomous in their job. They can connect with easily and effectively with other people. And talking about leadership, leaders now, they need to create trust and a safe environment also remotely. So it's a complete switch from the old command and control style. So now more than ever, we need to switch to human skills, and leadership is one that I'm experiencing in companies.
So when we're looking at the interview, if we want to break this down a little bit more for people, what are the questions that we're starting to see employers ask? So here's a couple of examples. The first is customer service. So let's say you could be working in a customer care department on the phone, or you may be working in a retail environment, working with individuals face-to-face on the front lines. So one of the questions that you may receive is, how would you handle an angry customer? Roberta, what are your experiences in terms of customer service characteristics in the environments that you work in?
I've been working as a coach and as a trainer in many retail company, and one human skill, which is really in my opinion, the human skill is emotional intelligence. Because if I'm going to stay 8 hours on the phone, receiving complaints and managing usually angry customers, if I receive a complaint, they're not going to tell me that I'm wonderful. Managing my emotions, first of all, so my internal state, and managing the emotion of the client will guide me and will guide the client through a process where the client will receive listening support, and we completely change the situation from a complaint to a connection.
Okay, great. So let's move to the next one, which is performance potential. So a question could be, when have you taken initiative at work? So Silvia, for example, can you share with us your experience in other regions of the world? What might be different in this case?
Yes, Catherine, thank you. I think that is a really interesting one, because when we look at it cross-culturally, like you say, from a North American perspective, it's absolutely clear what the answer has to be for this. However, this particular attitude to initiative, being proactive, going out there, standing out, would be totally inappropriate. The challenge I would have, say, if I come as an Asian candidate to North America, is how to translate that into an environment and into a context that my North American employer can understand. So a way this question could be addressed is for the candidate to say, to give the context, explain, well, in my culture, actually, I understand you are looking for this, this, and that, but in my culture, this wouldn't work. The way I have been showing initiative in the past was by doing X, Y, Z. However, I appreciate that if I had to do the same thing, or if I were to come across the same situation at your company, I might be doing it that and that way. And what you're doing with that is, not only do you show awareness, so you have the awareness that there are different cultures, you're showing that you can adapt to it, and you're showing what you have done, and you have a solution orientation, how you would do it in a different culture.
We'd like to leave you with a few tips, if you will, because many of you are going through a career shift, maybe looking for a job, you're grappling with this video interviewing, new technology, and participating or conducting interviews in a virtual environment. Gartner, for example, published some research this last year that showed that over 86%, and this was back in April, of course, of employers are conducting interviews virtually. So the first point is that we need to be prepared. We need to be prepared, and that means not only with our technology environment, but we need to be prepared by doing our research. So looking for all of the information, doing a bit of research on what the employer is looking for in the job description, in the characteristics that they're emphasizing, not just the hard skills, but the soft skills, and also the cultural background of that organization. And over to you, Silvia.
So the next recommendation would be just be authentic and know yourself, because employers will be looking in the interview. First of all, do you have the self-awareness? Do you actually understand who you are? And that allows you to then be authentic. So it's about understanding how you can use your skill and adapt to the corporate culture.
And Roberta?
During the interview, I think it's really, really important to create trust. And it's not so easy to create trust really quickly. I think that trust is a mix of components. You need to demonstrate your competence and capabilities. So you need to choose the right examples, the practical tips that you've been using in your professional previous life. You also need to demonstrate your sincerity and your authenticity, like Silvia said. And also you need to demonstrate your accountability and your alignment, your centeredness. In this way, you can create a connection, because without trust, you cannot create a connection. And the interviewer is a human being. And also, if you are interviewed by a software, you need to highlight all those words and emotional states that will create a connection with your future employees.
You can find us here. You'll see our LinkedIn profiles below, and we look forward to sharing more content with you to come. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Bye.